So I thought I'd just put on this session just for a real quick insight into how you can embed some interactive questions into YouTube clips, which I know, a lot of teachers use a lot of. It's a great resource, but it's a really simple way, and hopefully when I take you through it, you'll see how simple it is to very quickly put 2 or 3 questions into a video to either use as homework, use as flip learning before a session, or equally live in a session. If it's a 3 or 4 minute video, there's nothing stopping the students doing it there and then in a team session or in a Zoom session where you can immediately see the results coming up. And you've got that then analytics then to see, if there's any patterns of where students are getting questions wrong. You can maybe go over that. So for stuff like maybe A and P, where there's a lot of sort of facts and stuff to remember, stuff like this is really good because you can do them over and over again. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, so can everybody see my Canvas screen?
Yeah. Okay,
so first thing I'm going to do is, I suppose fairly self-explanatory, is go to the Studio tab just on the left-hand side. But in Studio, anything that you've created obviously will sit in here. So it's always available. It'll only ever delete if you physically delete it. So you can see someone here that sort of I've played around with and just done some sort of tests and some demos. So the first time you go onto Studio, you'll find that this is probably blank, okay, if you haven't played about with it before. So the first thing you want to do, if you're looking at creating a video with some quiz questions in, is up on the top right hand side is go to the add icon. Okay, and that'll give you 2 options. Okay, so you can either browse and drop a file in. So this might be useful if you've created any PowerPoints where you've done a recorded session for students to do as homework, or you've done a voiceover and have saved that as a video. You can drop that in and add some questions into your own PowerPoints for students to do at their own pace. Okay, so that's quite simple. It's just looking at where the video is saved and adding it in. And the process of adding the questions in is exactly the same. For this demo, we're just going to get something from YouTube. Okay, and it's just a case of putting in the YouTube URL. Okay, so if I go to YouTube, skeletal system, so we've got a lesson coming up on the skeletal system. I want them to get a bit of an understanding of it beforehand. Or equally, we've just done this and I want to check how much they've took in, how much they've understood. So I'm just going to choose the first one, guys. Obviously, in reality, you'd go through these and pick what is appropriate. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one. It's 6 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to select that. You might just want to obviously review the video first, watch it, see if it's. For me, you can either, to get the URL, you can either copy and paste the URL up in the top search bar. Okay, or a slightly easier maybe is go to share, and then you can just copy the link there. Okay, that'll do exactly the same thing. So either way, you're going to get the same result. Okay, so you've copied the URL to that video, gone back to your Studio, and all I'm just going to do is paste that link into there. Okay, and then add. And you'll see almost immediately that video is available. Okay, so again, you can view the video just to make sure it is the one that you wanted if you want, or you can just go straight into adding the quiz questions in. That I've put in, I'm going to select the 3 little dots and go to create quiz. Okay, and then that'll open up sort of like your quiz settings. So just call it a skeletal system. You can add a description in there if you want. Okay, it's completely up to you. The benefit of having a description, I suppose, is when the students click on the video, the first thing they will see is the description. So if there's some really key information that you want them to look out for, or something that you want them to know right at the very beginning, it's ideal to put it in the description, because that's the first thing they'll see before they press play. Another quite key one for me is this little button here, so hiding the question markers on the video. So if you leave that blank, when the student goes on the video, they'll see little balloon icons for where the questions are. And unfortunately, Studio doesn't allow us to prevent students from skipping. Okay, I'll show you how you can get around that in a little bit. But if you press that will get rid of those little balloon icons, so the students will have no idea where the questions are going to come up. Okay, so it's quite important that. So I've done that. I've title, description, hide, yeah. So get started. So from here, it is literally a case of looking at where you want to embed the questions. So you might already have an idea based on what questions you want and where you want them to put them. Or if it's the first time you've watched it, perhaps you can just let's press play. Okay, it might get to a point where you think, actually, yeah, I'm just going to skip it just for the process of this. So you might think, right, at 40 seconds, that's a real ideal opportunity to ask about X, Y, and Z. Okay, so you click on the little plus sign, and then you've got 3 options. You've got multiple choice, true or false, or multiple answer. So there might be 2 or 3 correct answers in one question. Okay, and the benefit with this and why they've limited it to those 3 is so the auto mark feature can pick up the right and wrong answers. If you had an open-ended question, which some platforms do, it wouldn't know what was right or wrong unless they put in the exact text. Okay, so for these ones, it allows the algorithms to decide what's right or wrong and give the students the score. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to put a true or false question in, and I'm not going to go through all the questions. I'm just literally going to put some random stuff in there. Okay, so you've got the question. You identify whether that question is true or false. Okay, from here, depending on how long you want to spend on it, you can automatically give some feedback based on whether the students get the right answer or the wrong answer. Okay, so for the correct, it might just be a well done. For incorrect, it might be something like not quite, remember, and maybe some guidance as to what the answer is. It might be a link to another video that gives them some more research to find out the answer. It's completely up to you at that point. Okay, so from there, I'm just going to save. I'm happy with the question. I'm happy with where it is. And you would basically just follow that same process. Okay, so at 2:55, I want to add a multiple choice question in. Okay, so again, I'm just going to do it randomly just for time. And for this one, I want them to have 4 different options. You can have as little or as many as you want to. Okay, and I'm going to identify this one as the correct answer. You've got some options to vary the points by answer if you want to get a little bit complicated, or shuffle the choices. And again, have the feedback whether you want it or not. But for this case, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Okay, and then the same way, I'll just add a third one in, 540. Okay, for this example, we'll have a multiple answer. Okay, so again, just some random text. Okay. And for this one, there are actually 2 possible answers, or 2 answers that I want the students to be able to identify. So I've identified both the correct answers. That's the wrong answer. Okay, and then save. So if you're happy with that, like I said, you can have as few or as many questions as you want, depending on, I suppose, what you're trying to achieve from the activity, really. And you can literally put them in as close together or as far apart as you want to. If you want to, before you press done, you can quickly just review the settings, make sure that the description is what you want it to be. Yeah, I'm hiding the markers, so that's fine. Okay, and then it's a case of just pressing done. Okay, that will then sort of do its work in the background, and you'll be able to tell once the quiz is embedded by this little sort of rocket icon in the top right hand corner of the video. Okay, so that's you done, I suppose, the difficult part in terms of putting the questions into the video. Okay, how you then share it with your students is the same way that you would share any assignment using Canvas. Okay, so again, I'm going to go to the 3 little dots. Okay, from here you need to select quizzes. If I just go and select that actual video, it will put the video as an assignment, but it won't have the questions in it. Okay, so when you go to sharing, you need to make sure you're putting in quizzes and selecting what the quiz is. Okay, and then from there, if I go, just before I go on to how to set the assignment, is everybody happy with that bit? I know it's a little bit of a whistle-stop tour, but is everyone happy with how you select the video, how you put in the questions, how you change the settings, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dai, are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So in terms of how I set that, or I share that with the students, then, so I'm going to go to my course, which is just an unpublished course, just so we can sort of mess about with things in the background. Okay, now from here it's just the same in many cases as setting an assignment. Okay, so I'm going to go to assignments. I'm going to create an assignment. And then from here, there's a couple of quite important things that you need to do to make sure it works properly. So you would give the assignment a name, a description if you want to. There's no necessity to, but it depends how much info you want the learners to have. From here, I personally, because Studio won't be, or because the assignment won't be able to identify which questions the learners have got right and wrong in this element, you might just want to have it as complete or incomplete, so you can quickly see which students have done it and which students have yet to do it. Okay, the important bit here is when you go to submission type, it will automatically be defaulted to no submission. Okay, so what you want to do is select that and select external tool. Okay, and that will open some different options here. So if I click find, what you're looking for is scrolling down to find Studio. Okay, and it's down, it's in alphabetical order. So there's Studio. I'm going to select that. That will then open a little box of your Studio videos. Okay, from there. So what you want to do is just select the one that's relevant for that assignment. Okay, so I know it's that skeletal system one, so I'm going to select that. Okay, allow comments. You can turn that on or off if you want students to be able to comment on the video or not. What you need to do as well is instead of standard embed, what you want is video quiz embed. If standard is just the video on its own with no questions embedded, what you want is the video quiz embed. Okay, and if you've got 2 or 3 quizzes in one video, which is probably unlikely, you might just want to select the one that you want. Okay, in most cases it's only going to be 1 quiz per video. Okay, so that's the one that I want. Okay, and I'm going to embed that. So what would happen is generally when you select the quiz video, it would put in the URL there. Okay, so you know it's worked when there's a URL and it's not just blank. Okay, from here you can select how many times you want the students to be able to do it, whether it's limited or unlimited. For this case, I just want to check what they know, so I'm just going to give them 1 attempt. Again, when you set an assignment, select your course who you want it to go to, your due date, available from and to, etc., and then save and publish. Okay, so if I just if we'd have embedded the video, that's what that would have done. So if I just show you a completed version, and you'll see how that looks. Okay, so demo 2 was one that I just did literally just before this. So as a teacher, you can see that as soon as I go onto that, the video and the quiz questions are embedded. Okay, so again, as the teacher, you can review it and look at just to make sure it is what you want it to be. Okay, if I show you what it looks like from a student's point of view, okay, if I click the pair of little glasses in the top right hand corner, I can see what it looks like from if my student was looking at it. Okay, so this is what it looks like as the student. This is the bit at the beginning when I said if you add a description, that's the first thing the students will see. So if you've got some key information in there, it's useful to put it in the description so they've got it there and then. This just tells them to watch it and answer the questions, and that we're going to be looking at it in the next class and relating it to different things. So as a student, so I'm going to get started, and I just want to show you what it looks like if the students skip through having not answered the quiz questions. Okay, so I'm a student and so what students sometimes do, we all know, is things like this. You sort of skip through and try and get it over as done with as quick as they can. What Studio does quite cleverly is captures where they've skipped it as well. So I'll show you in a minute where you can see exactly what parts of the video they've watched and which parts they've skipped through. So if I select, as a student, so I'm going to go right to the end, okay, hoping that that'll just log the fact that I've watched the video and that's it, and I can, you know, there's no sort of work, etc. that I have to do. Let's make it bigger. So what you'll find, this is what it comes up with the students. If I'm a student and I've skipped through the video and not actually answered any questions, it gives me the option to either resume the quiz because it's saying there's questions in here that you haven't answered, or submit an incomplete quiz. Now some students might select that, but that's an immediate red flag to you as a tutor because you can see that all they've done is skip through it and not answered anything. Okay, so in this case I'm going to resume. Okay, and just to show you what it looks like with the questions popping up. Okay, so this is what it looks like at 1 minute 20. This question comes up. Okay, I'll just answer as a student, so I think that's true. One thing to point out here, when they have a question that pops up, if they don't know the answer, they've got a couple of choices really. They can either just guess, or they can re-watch that section. And pressing re-watch will replay that section from the previous question to this question, which obviously where the answer lies. Okay, so they've got the option to re-watch that whole section to then be able to formulate their answer. Okay, I'm just going to answer that last question just so we can see what the results look like. Okay, this is the multiple choice, so yeah, I'm happy with those two. Okay, so once it's finished and the student has answered the questions, then they get the option to either replay it if they want to, or they can submit the quiz. 9 times out of 10 they're going to submit the quiz. And you can see there that Canvas are clearly having issues, which just said that they're contacting their engineers. So as a student, so I've selected that, I can then view my results and I can see which I've got right and which I've got wrong. I've just put a little example of some feedback, so not quite correct, and then started to maybe guide them to what the answer actually is. Okay, so there you can use the feedback for whatever you want. It can be some praise, it can be links to other resources, etc. Okay, but I can see as a student which ones I've got right, which ones I've got wrong. Okay, and you can see it doesn't allow me to have a second attempt. So that's a real, I suppose, as true reflection as you can in that moment of what they do know. Okay, so that's it from a student's point of view. I'll just show you what it looks like from a teacher's and some of the results it can show. So I'm going to leave student view and look at it from a teacher. So now if I go onto that assignment as the teacher, you can see it offers some different options. Okay, so if I look at insights, okay, that allows me to see exactly what students have done. So if I click on test student 1, okay, I can see anywhere where there's white, that means that they've skipped the video. Okay, so they've watched a couple of minutes or a minute or so in the middle, but generally have skipped through quite large parts of the video. Okay, so again, you can that gives you the opportunity to challenge that with that student. Again, test student 2, again, it's clearly looking for where the quiz questions are, so he's skipped quite large parts. Okay, so that's quite good information for you as the teacher. The other option is then the quiz results. Okay, so if you click on quiz results, where if you've got 5 or 6 or a whole group of students that have successfully completed the quiz, this will show up here in the item analysis, and there'll be a report there. Okay, equally, you can go to student results. Okay, click on any of your students to see what they've got. So let's look at test student 1, look at their attempt. Okay, and again, for each student, you can individually see what they've got right, what they've got wrong, you know, where that knowledge is quite strong, and where there are those gaps that you might need to either signpost to additional resources or do some extra stuff in class around those topics, particularly if there's lots of students that are getting the similar questions wrong. And that's basically as simple as it is. In a video, putting in some questions and sharing it as an assignment that then automatically marks and you know, gives the students an interactive experience and gives you some quite valuable information that doesn't require you to sit there and mark quizzes or mark assignments, etc. So it's quite a quick way of doing some real good checks on learning, or implementing some flip learning or some homework, which allows you to check before the lesson who's done it and who hasn't. So that might be a quick email to Susie that hasn't done it, you haven't done your homework, or you haven't done your flip learning. Please make sure you do it before the session. I think with everything, it's just a case of having a bit of a play about with it, and hopefully you'll see once you do, it is really, really simple. You know, you can create quite an interactive resource in 5 minutes. If you've got the questions in your head that you want to ask, and you know roughly what video you're going to use, even if you don't, you know, it's quite quick to look through YouTube. You can genuinely create that in 5 minutes. Okay, and there's not a lot of things in teaching where you can get some quite good results from something that doesn't take hours to do. So for me, it's quite a valuable resource, and you know, it's interactive for the students. So it's not just a case of watching a video. There is some interactivity there. Okay, any questions, guys, or is that okay?